Hi, this is Bruce Lindsay working with Liz Gallo on our continuing effort to document the stories of veterans. Today is a unique story because it was recorded over phone. Don Bauman lives in Florida and I was unable to visit him in person, so I recorded this video over a period of days. Even though he was in the hospital part of the time, he wanted to relate his story. He was a Marine in the 1st Marine Division during the Chosin Reservoir campaign, and before that in Inchon Landing. And he was notable for having been the first truck to cross the reconstructed bridge at Funchillin Pass, which was quite a moment in history.
I was, what, 17. I was in Miami High School to Miami. We had just moved on from Miami in 1945 from Pennsylvania after the war ended. And I wasn't very happy about the school. I wasn't very good at school. I was smart enough, but I wasn't very good at it. I didn't pay much attention. I played a little football. Then I decided I didn't want to go to school. So my dad told me, okay. He said, one of three things. That you're going to get a job and contribute to the household. You're going to go to school, or you're going to go to the military. I chose the military. And it happened to be the Marines. I had already been in the Naval Reserves as they had it wasn't called the Sea Scouts. It was called another organization. They was teaching us about the jet age and the JP4 engine. We had a JP4 engine in the Naval Air Station in Opelika, Florida. And I was in school there. I registered and signed up for this. And I worked the flight line with mostly in the PBY squadron, VP 108. And I worked the flight line, and one day I was parking at a PBY coming in from a trip. And I was pretty damn good as a 15-year-old kid, 16-year-old kid doing this stuff. I was really good at it. I paid attention. And I parked this PBY and got the chocks under and got them all secure. And the captain come out, Captain Horn, weekend warrior. He worked for Eastern Airlines and come out there every weekend and some other times flew. He said, how the hell old are you? And I said, well, I'm old enough to be here. I'm in this scout program here. He said, you did a nice job. I said, thank you, sir. He said, how would you like to go flying? I said, oh, I'd like that. And he said, okay. I said, maybe the next time I go, I told him I was in school and all that, talked for a while. I was in school on a weekend there one time, and here comes Captain Horn into the instructor. He talked to the instructor, man, and the instructor said, Bauman, he said, go with Captain Horn. And I went with Captain Horn and went aboard his airplane, and they took off. And I loved it. And he said, you want to see the tire? It was the flight engineer's tire. And I said, yeah. And the flight engineer took me back there and crawled up the ladder, and I looked around all the instruments and sit between those R2800 engines. I think there were R28s. I'm not sure. They may have been 1800s, but I think there are R28s. And boy, I was thrilled. And they taught me a lot of stuff. So every time he'd go flying, he'd come get me, and I'd go with him. And I became a student flight engineer. And then I quit school, and the dad made a decision. I got transferred from that into the Marine Corps and went to Paris Island boot camp in 1945, not 1949, November the 4th. I was 17. My parents had a sign, and I went to get my examination. I was accepted, sworn in up in Jacksonville, and they put us on I think it was a bus, bus. And we traveled on up to Beaufort. And it was early in the morning, and they stopped at this little restaurant there before we went aboard Paris Island. and they had grits and eggs. And I think they were just trying to get us ready for what was in store for us, because those grits were terrible, and the eggs were runny. Oh, they were awful. I said, I'll never eat anything like that again in my life. In fact, I didn't eat it then. They put us aboard a bus, and we went in there, and the DI came in, and we moved off that bus, you know, and it lined up. And I don't know what the hell. He marched us around somewhere and was talking to us about the training and all that. And he said, you're not going to be, we were forming up, they were forming up with another platoon 99. In fact, I got the picture. I'll have to send it to you. Then he said, okay, we're going to get your haircuts now. And we went in the barber shops, lined up like everything else, and they're shitty ass guys always. They had to ask these questions all the time. I know they did it. So, how would you like your hair? Where do you want me to cut your hair? I don't really care. I said, just take a little bit off the sides and off the back. I was a skinhead in no time, very short time. And we already had our fatigues before we got they issued us the fatigues before they gave us our haircuts. That's what it was. And he took us out, and then we had to do the field stripping there for a while. You know what field stripping is, don't you?
For the weapons.
No, field stripping was going around picking up cigarette butts, paper, everything off the floor, and making a place look good until we formed up our platoon. And we were barracked. I was 2nd Division. We were barracked in the wooden barracks next to the parade field and the steam shed. Do you know where the steam shed is in Paris Island?
Nope.
Okay. That's where they kept everything warm, and the water was going, hot water and everything there. And that was where you were practiced on guard duty. You learned how to walk guard duty at the steam shed. And we went on to the parade field. And it was cobblestone then. It wasn't paved. And we marched. Oh, I loved it. I tell you, I loved it. When they sung those concades. Oh, and you do the manual arms, just slapping that leather strap on the M1. Oh, it all came together. We were pretty bad when we started, but after Sergeant Gardner got us going, we were good. And I wasn't as tall as I am after boot camp. I wasn't very muscular, but I was strong. He put me up there as the guide arm, and I carried the platoon flag for a while. And he had to get a bigger guy than me, and so he did. But he put me in the guide column where I was right. You know, we guided, and we did all kind of maneuvers: right obliques, left obliques, the rear march, all that. Oh, it was gorgeous. It was. I just loved it. And we go back to the barracks that night, and we would march to the affirmatory, the dispensary, and one of the guys, somebody got some venereal things they called like crabs. They called it. I don't know what it was, and it was spreading. So they marched us down to the dispensary or affirmatory, and they sprayed us with some kind of shit. And they marched us back. Oh, God, was that horrible. That was terrible. And they let us take a shower. Thank God for that. But that burned like hell. But anyhow, we got rid of that. And we become pretty good Marines as far as marching was concerned and everything. We took a couple of rainy night marches from the barracks to Onslow Beach and back, and then slept and got up and went again. And that was just about coming to the where we went to the rifle range. And we went to the rifle range, and I think it was just being built. I keep saying 600 yards, but everybody tells me no, it's 500 yards. So, okay, 500 yards, I'll go with that. And I always say this, today I still say it. When I tell somebody to do something, I say, already on the right, already on the left. Okay, lock and load. Anyhow, we practiced shooting. And I did fairly well. I wasn't too good at kneeling or standing up firing. But when I got to I call it 600 yards, 500-yard line, they gave, there was 8 shots in a clip. They gave us 10. And I pinwheeled 10 from 500 yards and won my badge, my sharpshooter badge. And that was a great day for me, you know. And for the rest of the day, they made me there was a word for this. I had a barracks, a room. They gave me a room on, I can't remember what the hell the room was for. It may have been on the headquarters, I'm not sure. But I didn't stay in the barracks for a couple of weeks or more. I think maybe it was while we was at the rifle range after I won that badge. And I had to walk from from where the barracks were all the way up to the headquarters building. I was a carrier of some kind. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Scribe, maybe.
What?
Scribe.
I don't know what I was, but I did that. It was a hell of a nice job for me. I loved it. And I'd get up in the morning and look at my hair, and it was coming back, and I could comb it. And anyhow, we went back to drilling and learning the little things. And we went to school. And I remember Ronald Reagan and the film. Did you ever see those Ronald Reagan teaching you how to treat wounds and stuff like it with the
I've heard of them. I haven't seen them.
Huh?
I heard of them. I haven't seen them.
No. Yeah, we had to go to school and learn all that. We was in a classroom, and then we had to do night vision and all that kind of stuff. And then came graduation day. Now, I'll tell you, Chris, that was really something. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, that was really something. We lined up all the platoons. And all the sergeants, the drill instructors were in front with their swords, and the reviewing stand was over there, and they played Semper Fidelis. And we passed in review. My God, that was like, oh, what a feeling. We were Marines, you know?
Yep.
And oh, that was great. That was just super. I went home for 2 weeks, and I was to report to Camp Lejeune, which I did. And when I got there, they transferred me to a motor transport, learning how to fix trucks and do that. And we were supposed to go on advanced combat training while we were there, which when we finished school, it was only not too long a school, about 3 or 4 weeks school that we were there learning. And I was on guard duty one night, and I was walking around the cafeteria, and some lady Marines come out, and he said Korea, war, something. I said, oh, I don't know what the hell what they're talking about. Well, the next day, mind you, they come and said, if you volunteer, something will happen here. He said, we'll do good by you, but we got to take we're going to transfer you guys to another division, which was the first of it. And they gave us a couple of, a week, I think, a week to go and say so long to our families. We got on a troop train, and it took us 5 days a trip. We was in Pullman cars, and we were playing guitars, singing, playing poker, playing everything. And you had the nice bunks, and you get up in them bunks, and you go to the little windows you could look out at the top of the bunk, and you hear that click, 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 and try, and boy, it put you to sleep. Every time the train stopped for service, there was gangs of people there. They knew we were coming, and they brought us food, drinks, and all that kind of stuff. What a trip that was. We finally reached California and went to Camp Pendleton, and we were split up and put in different units. And we got our equipment and lined up, and hell, I never drove a truck before in my life. I didn't know what the hell I was driving, but I didn't have a big truck. But we convoyed down to San Diego. Where'd they say? San Diego. Yeah, that's where it was. Going down to San Diego, we loaded everything aboard ship, and I went aboard the General Meigs, President Madison line, Merchant Marine. And I think there was 4,000 of them on the ship. And we sailed from San Diego, and 27 days it took us to go to Japan. We went to Kobe, Japan, and encountered one typhoon going across there. And that was a little bit hairy. But we landed in that. Oh, I forgot to tell you. I always like to stand on the bow or the fantail, and at nighttime especially, you watch the screws turn and the phosphorus. It lit up the air. Oh, it was something. But standing on the bow, I saw this little. It looked like an anthill, and it was days away. It was Mount
Fuji.
The big volcano.
Fuji? Mount Fuji?
Fuji, yeah, the big one, the great big one there in Japan.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name. Damn it, that's ridiculous. It took about 3 or 4 days before we got to see it, and it was huge. With snow on it, and we came into Kobe Harbor, and we ran into another typhoon in Kobe Harbor. And a crane broke loose, hit the ship, and we had to abandon ship. I gotta go back a little bit and tell you a little story after this. Anyhow, we was abandoning ship, and the Japanese were standing on top of the warehouse roofs with life vests and ropes and everything pulling us in. But we got in. It was tough in between some of those ships, you know. And we lost one man. They told us about this, and I don't know why they did. He had his helmet strapped, and he fell. And he broke his neck when he hit the water because the damn thing popped. But anyhow, before that, on the ship, coming across, there was one guy by the name of Junior. If you wanted to ever see Junior, he was a young fella, like us, but there was a Zan Gray book in front of this guy's face with cigarette smoke coming out. That was Junior. I just wanted to remind you, Junior, so you'll know when I tell you about him. Anyhow, they came over to the loudspeaker and said, "Hey, we need some help here down in the butcher shop. We got any butchers aboard?" And one of the guys I had made up friends with said, "Come on, Bauman, you book butchers." Okay, well, we'll volunteer. We went over. Oh, boy. And you know where the reefers are, don't you? Way down in the decks down there. But they had the ice cream there. They had all the good stuff there. And we had to get up in the morning, go down, and slice 900 pounds of bacon and 900 pounds of bologna. And we did that every morning. The guys would get up, line up for breakfast. They'd go to breakfast. They'd come back, line up to go to lunch. They'd go to lunch, line up to go to supper. Go to supper. And then maybe they'd have a movie for us. But my department didn't have to do that because we made friends with the cooks. We'd give them ice cream and every stuff like that, and they'd give us a bunch of food for the officers we were getting. And we put it in bags and carried it back to our compartment which was a small one. It was in the bow. That's all we had, a small compartment. So there wasn't too many guys there. So we ate very well on the way over. We got to Kobe, and we were there for 2 weeks. And in the meantime, I was really looking at Japan. Oh, I mean, this is the first time this young kid was out anywhere looking at all. Oh, man. And I got a Japanese girlfriend, a real nice lady. Her parents owned a bar there. And we made friends with them, and we'd go there all the time. And she took me home and to meet her parents and stay with them one night, and that was a nice thing that happened to me. And when we were there one night, and they had a room in the back, and we had a little bit too much to drink. And they put us in the back of the room, but we wasn't all really sleeping. And all of a sudden, we hear SPs and the MPs coming through the streets. Marines, report to your ship. So we got our ass up and went. I got to the dock where the ship was, and it wasn't there. There was an AKA there. So I questioned it. And he said, no, you're at the right place. Go up there, you're board. And I went on board. And I guess some guys didn't really make it. But we sailed. We embarked that night. And we sailed around, I guess it was the China Sea. The China Sea now this is important to know that we could only go in there a certain time of the year, and that was in the fall, the winter, just going into the winter time, where there was a 30-foot tide at Inchon. That's important to know. 30-foot tide. Now, our ships then could go in on that 30-foot tide, be close enough to do the bombardment, release the troops to invade, and back out until when the tide come back in again, we could go in. Well, we did that. We went in there, and we offloaded the 5th Marines on a place called Wamidu Island. I don't know if you know Wamidu Island. It was a causeway, and they were to hold that causeway so that when we made the invasion, there would be no counterattack to our flank. So no counterattack happened. They was all right, and we went in the next morning. And when the tide come back up, and the bombardment, and then we went in sometime in the afternoon. I wasn't sure what time we went in. I went in on the second or third place, and they were pretty well inland by the time I got there. And they pulled me back. Now, wait a minute. I got to tell you this. We're going over the nets into the landing craft and Higgins boats. Going down there, and I get in there, and across my backpack, I had written Donald A. Bauman, Miami, Florida, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So we got into a boat and then started moving in, and someone tapped me on the shoulder, and I turned around, and it was a lieutenant. I said, yes, sir, what may I help you? He said, where the hell are you from, Pittsburgh or Miami? Yeah, I said, well, sir, I was born in Pittsburgh. I said, and after the war in 1945, we transferred to Miami. When my dad and mom went down there, I went with them to Miami. And that's where I joined the Marine Corps from Miami. He said, how about, what does the A stand for in your name? I said, well, that's my daddy's name is Adolf. And he said, how about your grandpa? I said, yeah, he's Adolf too. That's a good guess. He said, let me ask you, did you have an Aunt Matilda? I said, how would you know that? How would you know that, sir? He said, well, you must be Donnie. I looked at him and said, yes, sir, that's what they called me, but how do you know that? He said, well, when you was born in 1932, I was dating your Aunt Matilda, and I babysat you more than once. Now, mind you, Lieutenant Talbert, and we went aboard. They called us back from the shore. They had built from the LST, they had built this ramp and they put us in this truck. Now, I never drove one of these things. The M5s, they were 2.5 tons, 6x. And away we went, and it was Lieutenant Talbert, and I was in there. He was the Charlie Company commander and of the 7th Murder Transport Battalion. He had ARPA too. And the truck was going like this, jerking, rah, rah, rah. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I had it in the first gear, I put it in the second gear, it still did the same thing. And by the time we got to the beach, we stopped. I said, there's something wrong here, Lieutenant. I said, I don't know what the hell to do with this thing. I never drove one of these things before. On the floor, there was a mound with like a handle on it. And we fooled around with that, and we got it loose. It was a reduction gear, one of those real powerful gears, and boy, that truck wasn't moving then. So we went and got our compound set up, and that's how we entered Inchon, and we took prisoners, and we took ammo and all that stuff and delivered to the 11th, 5th, and 7th Marines. That was our duty, to do that stuff. And we moved on to up to Kempo Airfield. I don't know if you know Kempo Airfield. That's where we took Kempo Airfield one night, and then the next thing we were supposed to do is go and take Sewell. But they had blown the bridge, the Hun River Bridge. And so we went back and we loaded up with 2.5 tons trucks with this pontoon bridge. And we started up. Well, I was in back. Our Lieutenant Talbert's trucks were in back of the other ones. It was a night mission, no lights. And we was going up there, and the truck hit a mine. And it was in front of us. And we couldn't go to the right, to the left. We had to stay right where we were. Lieutenant Talbert made his way up. And he came back and he said, Don, he said, you guys got to stay here. He said, we're going to move on. I'm going with them, but there'll be an MP, a group of MPs standing to where you got to make the turn to get to Kempo. He said, just keep on watching for them. So they cleared the road, and they told us, don't get right or left. Stay on this road. And the MPs will guide you. We started. We saw a little glow ahead of us. And I bumped him a little bit up there, and I wanted him to stop. And he did, and I said, you think you know where the hell you're going? I said, I don't think we're in the right place. I said, look at this. There's some of those houses are on fire. Look over there. There's a couple of guys laying on the ground. Now, I don't think they're moving. And he said, oh, yeah, I've been here before. I know where it is. I said, you better know. So we got in the truck, and he started going. And we went up a ramp and onto a concrete structure. And he slammed on his brakes. He jumped out of his truck and went, Bauman, come here. And about that time, something down there on the right-hand side, we were sitting on that bridge. Something on the right-hand side blew up. I don't know whether it was a tank or it was ammunition up, and it lit the whole damn area up. I mean, a beautiful fire. And you could see the firefight was there. There was some people actually, the firefight was in back of us. And we was on that bridge sitting on a slab of concrete about 100 feet down. I said, holy shit. I got there was 5 of us, 10 men, five trucks. So I gathered everybody together. And I said, stay low, stay on the bridge, don't get up, lay there for a while. Just don't make any actions that they can see you or whatever they can do. The trip flares and everything were going off. And I crawled back on my belly to the end of the bridge where the ramp was, and I started down a ramp, and I happened to notice to my right there was a clear area of the trees and everything. I don't know whether they was constructing something there or not. And they said, I can get 2 trucks in there because we couldn't turn around on the bridge. So I figured it out. I said, okay. I crawled back. I said, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to be standing there guiding you. You're backing your truck up. When I tell you to turn, turn. And back up into this area that's there, and then turn your truck and go. So I got the first one gone, second one gone, third one gone, fourth one was mine. I said, Dick, who was my shotgun, I said, pull it over here and park. He pulled it over there and parked, and I got the other guy, the guy that said he knew where everything was, and he left. I jumped in the truck and started down, and Dan, if I didn't go up that ramp down that 6-foot ramp, and far, I said, oh shit. And we're on the road. I said, no, I got to go back and destroy that goddamn truck. And so I went back, and I didn't know. I think I had a couple of phosphor grenades or regular grenades or something in the goddamn vehicle. And when I got back there, I looked at the truck, and it was sitting upright, and all the cargo was straightened. So I went in, and I tried to start it, and it started. I remembered Inchon. I put that thing down in that, what they call grandma. And she, right up on the road, and away we went. Here comes Lieutenant Tolbert with about 5 or 6 Marines hanging on a Jeep looking for us. And they took us back to Kimpo airfield. But that was a scary little situation. I wasn't scared. I was too damn busy to be scared. But when it was over, that's when wow, that was close. But that was our little episode at Inchon. We made it across to Seoul. We cleared up Seoul, captured Seoul, and they took us out of there and they put us aboard ship again. And we sailed for 2 weeks up and down the coast of Korea on the East Coast. And we finally made a amphibious landing at Wonsan. With nothing there, just a few mop up, and mostly what happened, trucks hit a mine and stuff like that. And we did our mopping up, and we were assigned from Lieutenant Albert to go. My platoon, my truck platoon, was assigned to go to Hungnam to help the 11th Marines and the 7th Marines. We left from Wonsan and traveled up to Hungnam and did our job up there. We were supposed to go from Wonsan about 30 miles west to pick up a whole load of Korean and Chinese prisoners. Well, I don't know whether Chinese, but the Korean prisoners, and bring them back to the prison compound. Well, we couldn't get back there in time. We had to come back from Wonsan. We were on our way back, but they gave it to Baker Company. And Baker Company went in, and 2 of my dear friends, Thomas Aliff and Vincent Rogers, were aboard. They were convoy leaders, and they went in there, and they were ambushed. And Tommy and Vince both got killed right away. And Junior, the guy I was telling you about, the smoke was that great, he got his spine severed, but we saved him. I didn't save him. They saved him. He went to the hospital ship, and he was okay, and they sent him home, but we never knew anything else about that. And they brought him all back. The next day, they sent us, but we had a tank with us this time. And they had this tank with these big arms out there and a barrel on the rotating barrel with chains on it, and it would smash the ground. And that was for mines, pick up mines. They took us, and we made it to our mile. We picked up all the prisoners. We brought them back, put them in the prison camp. And that was we had a lot of, duty to make sure that they didn't do anything and try to escape or cause problems or all kinds of shit like that. We got them in, we got them satisfied. And then we were told we were going down there. All right. Well, then we convoyed up to Hungnam. Now, Hungnam was a huge dock type port, is what it was. where everything was offloaded and stuff like that. There wasn't very many roads up there. No, when I say roads, I shouldn't say roads. Trails, I will say, or we'll call them roads. And we were going up through there, and we were with the tanks and a few other things. And there was still a little bit of a rumble there. Nothing like a full gale attack or anything like that. Just more or less mopping up, clearing the area out so that we could expand and do what we had to do at the dock. And we stayed down there at Hungnam while the 5th and the 7th and the rest of the 1st Marine Division started up the road. Is an 80-mile run, a road or whatever. Again, like I said, I don't want to call it a road, but that's what everybody calls it. A road up to Coterie, I believe it was. 80 miles. That was the run. And there was very little on anything in between Hungnam and Coterie. Well, what they were doing up at the Coterie area was that we were taking the ships were coming in, and we would drive over there, and they would offload all the equipment and the medical brandy. Oh, you ought to taste that. Medical brandy and all the different 105, 55 shells, howitzer shells, all that stuff, all the equipment that they needed up there at Hungnam. We were establishing a stockpile or whatever you want to call it, a place where we was 80 miles closer to, in other words, so that the division could keep on moving and was supplied. And we used to make that damn run almost every day. And it was a hard night's work doing that stuff like that. Anyhow, once we got that established, and then it was on to the reservoir. Now, okay, I was supporting, I believe it was the 11th Marines. I was hauling mortars and 155s, and we had those self-propelled 108s also. And we were supporting them, and we'd load our vehicles and go up there and unload them, stockpile it. They were shooting the hell out of them things, I'll tell you. There was loads and loads of ammunition that we carried up there. I'll give you a little funny thing. I think it was 4.2 mortar or 40 point. 4.2, wasn't it?
The mortar? 4.2.
Yeah. 4.2.
Mm-hmm.
I was supporting a mortar group and hauling stuff to them. And I had unloaded my the load that I come up. I got in my truck, and it was sunny, real sunny. And those guys were pumping those things up, boom, boom. And you could stand in back of those damn things and watch. You go about, you put your eyes about 20 feet above the mortar, the barrel of the mortar, and boom, and as soon as it got up there, you could watch it following all the way over until it went down. You could see it. And I thought that was fascinating. But the thing that happened there, I decided to take a little break there and sit in my truck and get warm, and it wasn't really that cold, but it was just a great day as far as weather was concerned. And I was sitting in my truck, and I heard plink, came right past my nose, a sponge shell, and hit in the truck and fell down somewhere. But I looked ass over head for that damn thing, and I could not find it. But I'll tell you, my ass was out of that cab real quick. I'll tell you. I stayed down there for a little bit, and I peeked up, and I got in the vehicle, and I cranked up and went down and got another couple loads. I guess we got to where General or Chesty was Coterie, Hagaroo, where General Smith was consolidating the division. And I was with the 7th this time. And we kept going. They told us it kept going. Now there's a picture in there somewhere where you see a group of Marines around some prisoners. Have you seen that?
I don't know if I saw that particular one yet.
Okay. Now, I was in that picture there. I'm not saying I can't identify myself, but I saw that. And I'll tell you, this is one of the things, too, that started me remembering things about this. My sister-in-law and her husband and Margie and I, we went up for vacation somewhere or visit somebody. We were coming back. I still got the magazine, too. And we stopped in this little joint to have a sandwich and coffee. And as we were talking, I happened to notice a magazine rack. And I looked at it, and it looked like something that said Korea. And I go, oh. So I went over there, and I picked that thing up. And I looked at it, and bingo. There was that picture of us standing there. And I called the magazine and asked him if I could use that picture if I could do it, because I was in that picture, I was in that group. And they were so kind, they sent me a letter authorizing me to use it any way I wanted to use it. So I did that. And that's when I think I start putting the little things together. I'm not sure, or remembering most of all. Let's put it that way. Remember, I didn't do much writing at all. In fact, I didn't do any writing. Anyhow, after that picture, when we was at that picture, that's one of the rest stops or one of the places where we're starting to get cold, and real cold. And we was catching Chinese regulars. And if you see the picture, the two prisoners that are sitting in front there, you look, one of them's got a block of ice around his feet. And I handed him some cigarettes, and I wanted to give him some coffee or something, but I didn't have any. But at least I gave him cigarettes and tried to comfort him a little bit. You know, he's just a young kid. He was young as I was, or younger. Anyhow, after we left that, we kept on going, and we were not with the rest of the division. We were just like, I don't know whether it was a patrol or a company. I have no idea. I was just there to transfer whatever they did and do what I could do to help us get where we were going. And we got to right at the edge of the mountain, and I looked, and I was laying in the snow. It had snowed, but not real cold. And I looked down there, and I was looking at Manchuria, the Yalu River. And wow, we're up here. And that's when Mr. MacArthur, or General Douglas MacArthur, said, okay, you can start turning in your gear, the heavy stuff, you know. He said, we're going to be home by Christmas. So you can start getting ready to pack up, because the war will be over by Christmas. And we was telling General MacArthur, whoa, we're capturing Chinese regulars. And he sent his, and I'm going to put that in quotes, intelligent officer over to us. And he interviewed some of them, and he looked at me, no, they're not regulars. We're saying, hey, they're regulars. And MacArthur said, the Chinese will never come in like that. They'll never bother us. we'll stop as soon as we get the rest of the thing over there. We'll stop at the border, and that's it. Okay. 27th. I can't. I'm vague on the date. You better research the date. When I think it was Thanksgiving Day or whatever it was, I don't know. But they had turkey and all that. Well, they might have had turkey where they were, but where we were, we didn't have turkey. We was up there right looking into Manchuria. And right after they had the turkey, here they come. The next day or the day after, they came in. They hit us hard. And not us. That baffles the hell out of me. I do not understand why, because we were just a little group out of the division that was more or less, I guess, scout party, whatever you want to call us. I have no idea. I was there to supply and do what I could do. And I knew some of the Marines. I made friends with them. And some of the 7th Marines. Some of my buddies weren't there. It was a mixed group. But after they came in, we had to get back. And that was the big problem. We couldn't get back because they were surrounded. Well, Omar Smith, General Smith, sent another patrol or group up to try to help us get back. They got chewed up pretty good, and the commander. You'll read this, I know, in the head notes that was written by Smith himself, that they got chewed up pretty good. Like I said, coming up there to try to help us. And it was at the point that the commander called back to the general and said, "Do you want me to continue or what? Because this to try to get up there." And he said, "You get those people out of there at all cost." And they did. They come up, and we was fighting down. We got together, and we was a stronger force, and we made it all the way back to. What is it? Coterie, Haggaroo, which one was he in?
Haggaroo first. Smith was in Haggaroo.
Haggaroo. Okay. We made it back there. Once we got back there, he consolidated the division. By that time, we were surrounded by as much as, I think, 20 divisions. Okay, now you're talking about a 1st Marine Division, one division. That's all. That's all was there up there in that goddamn place. One division. And their task was to annihilate us. That was their task. General Smith told us, and old Chesty, I don't know where the hell Chesty was at the time, but I would listen to Smith. He said, "Okay, we're gonna do the breakout now." And then they started telling we was retreating, and he got pissed at that, and he said, "Retreat, hell, we're just attacking in a different direction." And it really frosts my ass every time I hear someone say in the news or Marine retreat, hell, where in the hell was we supposed to go? You went north, or we had Chinese, you went east, got Chinese, west Chinese, south Chinese. What the hell are you going to do? It was our effort. The best effort we had was go back south to consolidate, and get to places where we could do a little bit better off than we were in that damn hole up there. But anyhow, we started down, and the 7th Marines, the people that I was with, I was detached from them, and I was just a convoy. I was just a truck in there now. I have no idea where the rest of my group was. I have no idea. There was trucks in a line, and we were just moving, picking up the wounded, the dead, equipment, loading equipment. We were blowing up shit, destroying it. And we got, before we got to the bridge, I told you they attacked us. I left this out. They told us, I told you they attacked us. Okay, after the first initial was Smith, and we was with Smith, we got a storm, a big storm, worse than 100 years. In up in we was up there with Coterie and those areas, and it came through there nighttime, and the Chinese were hit just as bad as we were, so there was no combat. The wind came through there 60, 70, 80 miles an hour. Snow just came like crazy, and it dropped. The temperatures dropped. Now, you'll hear a hell of a lot of temperatures. I don't know what the correct one is, but all I know is that they say it dropped to 65 degrees below zero. That's what I heard. I've heard 50 below zero. I know 45 below zero and 35 below. I know those two. Oh, yeah, that's true. But the other, the lowest one, when the storm come through, I don't know exactly how cold, but it was colder than hell. We could not turn off the engines to the tanks, the cars, and everything, because if they would, you'd never start them again. Do you know what compound C is? I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
Okay. We didn't have much winter clothing. They gave us these Parkers with hoodies on them, and I forget what they called the book, but we called them boots, Mickey Mouse boots. And you put them damn things on, and they had a piece of felt in the bottom of the boot. Well, when you'd be moving around in the daytime in that cold weather, that was all right. They were comfortable and everything, but your feet would perspire no matter how cold it was. And at nighttime, if you didn't take them damn things off, your feet would freeze. It would be a block of ice. I've seen where, how in the hell do we keep warm? I'm dumb, stupid, but we were cold. Take a can of gasoline, and I had a tarp, put it over the damn back of the truck, and get in there with this gasoline and light the gasoline and capture the heat in there and stay in there for a while and get warm. Stupid, but it kept us warm. And like I told you, we're hungry. We didn't have anything to eat. I don't know how in the hell Mike wrote that I got a package of sea rations. Well, I don't know what I got a box of sea ration or what, but I had a couple of cans of sea ration I got from somebody or from something. And I looked at them some bitches. One was Franks and beans, and the other one was hamburgers. They were packed in 1918. 1918. And like I told you, the trucks, we kept them running as low as we can. We had to watch our fuel too, So the engines were hot. The manifolds always would stay hot. So we'd take our cave wires and punch the holes in the back of the cans and put them on the manifolds, and I'd warm that stuff up where it was edible. And I'll tell you, I had hamburgers and the Franks and beans, and I got to tell you, they weren't bad at all. They tasted pretty damn good. And then we got in and started. The weather subsided, and then they was hitting us pretty hard. Going down, we was on our whatever you want to call that road. Now the 7th Marines were charged with going up on the ridge and taking a certain point to keep us covered, so that we could take the to keep the road open. There was roadblocks and stuff like that. We'd take care of that. There was no big deal about that. Those guys were just beautiful Marines. I'll tell you, they were great guys. They kept the Chinese the hell off us, and they were outnumbered. 20 to 1 or more. Two of my friends were up there. I just made friends with, I didn't know him at the time when we were there, but we were there together. I met him just since you guys have been doing this. I met him from one of the stories, the interviews you guys did. And that was Jim Hostetler. Jim and I were at the same place, the same day, the same battle, the same thing. And him and I are now really good friends, and we talk about it. And I asked him if he knew Dick Nartelli, the guy that won his Silver Star. And he said, hell yeah, I drink beer with him all the time. So now he's talking to one of my friends. I knew Dick. And, let me back up. I'm telling you a lie there. I didn't know Dick there. I only knew him when he joined the chapter in Orlando. That's when I knew Dick. And then we got together because he knew what I was talking about. And we made friends, and we communicated for a long time. Now, Dick would go back, and he went with the government to try to recover some of the bodies. One of the things that we did, and I was,
there you go.
I was there, was and I didn't like this task, but we had to do it. I had to go and pick up the dead. We were getting so many dead. And I had to pile them on my truck. How's that? That's better. I had to pile them on my truck. I had help. Crew would pile them on my truck. And there was a couple other trucks with me. And what the Marines did was we dug a big hole. They had the explosives, and we had what do you call it? Like they use on the pavers that push the dirt after the explosion, that push the dirt and dig this big hole. Well, these guys that I was carrying that was dead, when they hit the ground, they froze. And they was in the same position that they died at. And we carried them off the truck and put them in this hole, which I didn't like to do that because I knew what we were going to do. In the Marine Corps, we say you don't leave anybody, dead or alive, behind. But we had to do something. And we did that. And I wasn't happy with it, but I could understand it. I still, as a Marine, you don't like that. But anyhow, we did that, and we covered them up, and we naturally took what do you want to say? At that time, we didn't have GPS, but we did the best we could to locate if ever we could come back and get them, which we did, which was done. So they recovered some of them. After we did that, we started moving down more and more, and we got to where the hell did we were moving along, and the convoy was stopped. Besides the regular roadblocks that we'd run into, and then we'd move on. This time we didn't move on. This time we were stopped. One night we were stopped the whole day. So I made my way down, and here I was standing right there looking down. Oh, wow. Funchillin Pass, I believe. I don't know how to pronounce it. I was looking at that, and it was way down. Anyhow, I went back to my vehicle, and I was probably the first 6 by in the line. There was tanks and everything else, other heavy equipment, in front of me. And we were there for, I don't know, 2 or 3 days. And the 7th Marines were up there taking all kind of casualties. I'm telling you, I can't tell you how bad it was. I know that a lot of those guys, they went in there with 400 and some guys, and I think it was, did Jim tell you how many there were? There was about 400, and they come out with 48.
That was on Fox Hill. That was Fox Hill, yeah.
Some number like that, it was up there. But did they inflict the damage on the Chinese? It was unbelievable what they did. And the last morning that they had to fight, they were relieved. They come down off the ridge and, for a rehab, for rest. And they finally figured out what the hell they were going to do. That's when the 3, you got pictures of that, I'm sure. That's when the 3 C-130s or C-119s. I can't remember what the number of those are.
C-119s.
119, 3 boxcars.
Mm-hmm.
They came over, and I was standing at the edge of the bridge again. And I looked up, and I saw these airplanes coming. And I saw them, whoa, here comes this big goddamn thing out of the back of the airplane, and the parachutes opened up, and here comes the other one, and they dropped, and the parachutes opened up, and another one, and the parachutes opened up, and they drifted. Well, they went down into the lower part of the mountain that we were in. At least they didn't go down the gorge. And I didn't have anything to do with the recovery. I was watching it all. They sent our troops down there. There may have been 4, there may have been 5. I don't know, but it was one beam across the right side and one beam across the left side. That's the way it was. They did a test drive across, all the time being under fire from snipers and that up there. But old Dick and Jim and those guys kept those bastards away from us. That's why they got the bridge done. And then they started over. Now, I know that I was probably the first. Well, that picture of that truck is me. That's my truck. No doubt in my mind whose truck that is. And I was going across there, and I had one guy sitting on the hood, on my right hood, and there was a guy sitting in the back. I couldn't see him too much, but I was getting signals from the other guy about whatever I was pulling, I don't remember, to make sure that went on. And there was a guy in front of me across the bridge, guide me. The guy on my fender was giving me directions. And so I was easing, and I really wasn't scared. But boy, I tell you, I looked down there, and I on either side of me, there was nothing. It was just I saw that and saw that, and I was going across there nice and slow, and I finally made it across. And I said, "Oh wow, thank God!" Now these guys, snipers, were shooting at the drivers, trying to knock them off, stop them so that they could either get reinforcements or whatever, bring up and try to stop us from going across. But the 7th Marines up there didn't let it happen. The 11th Marine Artillery's, 5th Marines, they did a great job keeping them off. And how, in God's name, did they ever do that? I'll never know. I don't think anybody will ever know how they ever did that, numbered 20 to 1. And once we got across there, it was not too bad going down. It was cold, but not too bad. And we got down to where I told you, the 80-mile run place where I was looking for the railhead, the first place where we dropped off ammunition and started a stockpile there. That's where we were. They had tents. They had hot coffee. They had hot food. Oh, man, we all got it really, we was feeling really pretty damn good drinking that hot stuff and eating good food. When I say good food, whatever the hell it was good and hot. And so all of us were there, and we had pickets out there, guards, or just like anybody would have security. And I was eating, I think it was breakfast. I finally got some hot coffee, some breakfast, and here comes this young kid next to me. We started talking, and he was from Pennsylvania, same place me. He had been shot through the shoulder and through the buttocks, and I helped him eat. I helped him to eat. So he said to me, Bauman, he said, I got to go to the bathroom. Can you help me? I said, sure. So we went away from the compound, not far, but far enough that it was, okay. And I was helping him. And all of a sudden I hear, pshoo, pshoo, and the snow was kicking up. And I said, uh-oh, they're picking at us. But there was a half track sitting about 20, 25 yards from where I was with this guy. And I don't even remember his name. But anyhow, I know it was Pennsylvania. This half track saw what was happening. They cranked that summit up and moved right in front of us. And they had quad 50s. And they raked that goddamn hill, and they gave it a haircut. I'll tell you, trees and all came down. Whatever was up there wasn't there anymore. That was a fine thing to see that. Anyhow, we gathered up. After we got some rest, and they was evacuating a lot of people with frostbite at that time from there. Then we got all our equipment together and got the dead, not the dead the more wounded than anything, aboard the trucks, and we were blowing up shit all the way. Our stockpiles that we had, we blew the hell out of them, and made our way on down, and on the 17th or 18th, this happened, it really happened. On the 17th or the 18th of December, I'm not sure the dates, we started coming into Hungnam. And they asked us, what outfit? First Marine Division. Those son of a bitches started marching and singing the Marine Corps anthem. And we got it. We made it. And I was one of the guards. I did a lot of guard duty. We'll be in that cold area until we got all these guys evacuated and our equipment. And my company, my area was about the last to leave. And we got on it wasn't the Higgins boat. It wasn't the Higgins boat. It was some other kind of damn boat that they took us out. They took us out to an LST, and at the LST we got aboard, and I'm telling you, it was standing room only. I mean, we was in this big bay on the bottom of the LST, and it was raining, and I had a corpsman who worked on me the day that I got hurt. He was Angevino was his name. He was a Portuguese, and he had a handlebar mustache. Funny guy, a great corpsman. He saw me. He said, "Hey, Bauman, how you doing?" All this shit, we were talking to each other. We hadn't seen each other for maybe a couple days or a couple weeks or whatever. He said, "You got your canteen?" I said, "Yeah, I got my canteen, damn it." He said, opened up his cover there, and he looked at me. what do you got there? 80 proof alcohol. Sick bay alcohol. He said, give me a canteen. And I poured my canteen to up there, and he poured a little bit of that alcohol in there. And said, he had to have a can of orange juice, put some of that in there. He said, here, warm up. It took the enamel off my damn teeth. But I'll tell you, I couldn't stay there that long. I said, this is awful. I got to get the hell out of here. So I crawled out of there and I went up on deck. And it was raining. And I looked up there where I guess the captain and those guys were guiding the ship. And I had a poncho and my pack and all that shit with me. And there was a deck laying there with a fence on it. So I crawled up there by the cabin. I put my junk down there, and I covered up with that poncho, and I went to sleep in the rain. And the next thing I remember, we were offloading down in South Korea, and we convoyed to a big school. I mean, it was huge. And there was tents. There was potbelly stoves in the tents. There was everything in it. We had a place where we could wash. We had a place where we could do all kinds of things. And we did that. And we had a nice place, and we were there for the duration of the winter. And I guess it was in April. They lined us up for the company, all companies, and the rotation system. And they were picking a guy out of each company. And we lined up, and they got to my company, and they said, Don Bauman, you're on your way home. Holy shit, how'd that happen? You know? Anyhow, I know Lieutenant Talbert would not do that just because I was his friend. He would not do that. And I asked him that for damn sure, did you do that? No, I would not. Anyhow, I did my job good. I was proud of what I did. I was a good Marine, and I was a good driver, and if they knew that I helped the enemy wounded, and I helped our wounded. I saved several enemy wounded and some of our own guys more than once. I didn't believe in hurting a wounded person or something. I didn't believe in that stuff.
You got discharged.
Got aboard ship, went back to our the States, hit another goddamn typhoon, and we had nothing on that ship after it was battened down to eat but canned cherries. Canned cherries. And we lasted a couple of days in there, and it cleared up, and then we had smooth. Let me tell you, Captain, the day they told us, get dressed, you're going to disembark, we all sharpened up and everything as we could, and we sailed into San Diego. Yeah. The fireboats were circling us, and the hoses, they were spraying water in the air, welcome us home. And over the radio, or over what Les Paul and Mary Ford were singing Harbor Lights. And it was a little bit foggy, but we could see it, we could hear it. We docked, and I don't know how it happened, but I got my Russian, I had my Russian burp gun and my 30-06 and my sword. I had that, and I was going to take it off, but they confiscated my burp gun and my 30-06. He said, you can't bring weapons in the United States. You can't do that. I don't know whether somebody wanted them, but I think that's the rule. I think that's the law. So I went along with that, but I said, you're not getting this. And that was my sword. And I still got it.
Yep.
And I said, I want to get off here. And I put my duffel bag on my shoulder, and I started down the road. Well, tick, 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 tick. And Mama remembered that. And they were outside talking to the neighbors. And next thing I know, I see this lady come out to the middle of the road, and she knew. And she ran up and grabbed me. Oh, that was a good coming home.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah.
What would be your advice to young people today?
I always talk to young people about don't be a follower, be a damn leader. Think for yourself. And if you know something's wrong, don't go in there and barge and raising hell. Be nice, ask questions, challenge. Don't fight, don't argue. Argue gives you nothing. Challenge and try to talk it out. If you can't talk it out, walk away from a son of a bitch because you ain't got any brains. I didn't have very many combat pictures, if any. Where I got the one where I'm wearing the 45, I have no idea where that picture came from. I have no idea. But I know where this 45 came from.
Where'd that come from?
Well, I'm going to tell you. They say that we're all equal in the services. That's not very true. The Marine Corps sucks hind tit. And when we was in Hungnam, we used to get down there and load up. Well, there was an Army convoy there in front of us, and we was sitting in another place, and we were loading ammunition. But now, the trucks, the Army trucks used to come up, and they had a lot of stuff that they was hauling. And we took the 105s or the 155s, I can't remember which ones they were, the smaller ones, had U-bolts that held them together. We'd take the U-bolt and weld it and make it a grappling hook. Well, the last truck that went by us, we'd swing that son of a bitch to try to hit it. And one day, I hit it. And what come off? A case of 45s. My privates and my corporals and all of us had 45s. That's how I got it. Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know
awesome.
who the hell I gave it to when I left. I gave it to somebody. Oh, Carl Courtright. He was my shotgun then. And I'll tell you, I wasn't Jim and Dick there and sick about hand-to-hand combat. I never did that. I want you to understand that. I never did that. I had my share of close calls, being shot at, and everything. A hell of a good Marine. I was a good truck driver and a damn good protector of the people that were under me or over me. I was a damn good Marine, and I'm damn proud of what I did. I was a hard worker. I laid blocks, finished cement, operated cranes, worked farms. I did everything. I was a worker all my life, and I think I wore my body out. So
Well,
I too much then. That's why my brain's so good now.
well, you were there when your country needed you, and when your fellow Marines needed you, you were there, and so
That I will agree with. I will not argue the point. I was there. I was there. Yes, I was. Yes. That night on the bridge, I was an 18-year-old boy, and I saved 10 men. Those 10 men included me. But because of what I did, I saved 10 men from being wounded, captured, or killed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. 18 years old, I did that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. I love it.
God,
I love it. God was good to me. I have no complaints. I'm ready to go home. Dick is up there waiting on me. A couple of other Marines up there waiting on me. So you got it. So I say to you, already on the right, already on the left, already on the fire, but lock and load. We're done.